Good morning, everybody. Hopefully, Zoom people can hear us okay. We're gonna kick things off. Today, we're going over a special forms class with all of the new forms updates. Yay! Since I'm doing that, it's kind of like, things just keep changing and it's probably gonna continue to keep changing. We just have to roll with the punches. It's kind of funny that, the thing with inspections reports, you can't give the copy of those, right? The thing with compensation, like, we've been going through these changes for years, and it's crazy to me that even today, offers that are coming in, we're seeing like other brokers like making the worst mistakes on these contracts I think I've ever seen in my career. Like, I even got an offer yesterday and they didn't even fill in, line 17, B, it was blank. So now I gotta have the conversation with my seller, like, well, here's what this means, seller. Did they really mean to have their client pay them their compensation or not, on a $1.5 million listing? What do you think? So it's like these things are still happening, and even as surprising as it is, I mean, I think that it's gonna get worse and worse because these changes are still continuing happening. But that's also the reminder for us that we have to stay on top of our game, and we have to continually show up and come to these forums classes. Yes, I know once you kind of learn it, it changes again, but that's just the nature of our business, and I don't think we're ever gonna see it like slow down from changes. I know that from just these one changes now, the forms committee apparently are talking about how, oh, maybe we should look at changing this too, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's just not gonna stop. So thank you guys for making it. I think Waffle Wednesday probably helped bring more people in person, since we can't do that one virtually. So I will go ahead and share my screen. Hopefully it is large enough for you guys to see. Should be good. I did not print copies yet. I do like doing training sessions though on the forms manual, and unfortunately forms manuals do not even come out until the forms are released. And I talked to Jeannie Simpson, the NWMLS lead attorney, and she said the reason they do that is in case they need last minute changes and they want to make sure that they express that in the forms manuals themselves. So she says that's why, but anyway. The forms manual always tells us, way more insight than just the forms themselves. So today we're going to be training off of what are called the red lines. And this is where you can see the exact changes of the forms. What's crossed off means it's removed, no longer part of the form. And what is added in red means that is what they're adding to the form.
Eric, what's the effective date of the changes?
The changes go live on Tuesday. So on our sales meeting day is the day that all the new forms are live. Let me get the questions answered right away right now. If you had a listing agreement signed prior to these changes, do you have to change? What do you think? No, you don't. You do not have to make a change and have a seller re-sign. Same thing goes for a buyer agency agreement. Now, if you had a deal that died or a listing, you're re-signing and stuff, and as soon as you're past that date, on Tuesday, the 24th, you got to use all the new forms. So all the new forms from that date forward. Rob?
What if you had an offer out and hasn't been signed yet?
Still fine. Yeah, if the offer's out and it's still valid, right? If it expired, then you do have to get new forms. So if it's still a valid offer, then you're good. Any other questions before we start kicking off? Janet?
Temporary off market.
Temporary off market is a list, that's the status listing from NWMLS. So no, you don't have to make any changes. Any offers and stuff, anything, you're gonna want to see all new paperwork.
If it's off market,
Even if it's off market. Yeah, doesn't matter. What if you're past the 24th and you're the listing broker and an offer comes through and it's a great offer, but it's all on the old forms? What are you gonna do?
Send them back.
Send them back? What do you think?
You say it comes in on the 24th?
After the 24th. All the new forms are available, but this broker decided to use old forms.
counted with the new forms.
Call the broker.
So
I can let it go.
I would let it go too. If the seller wants to sign off on it, just get it signed around. Some of these change, like, these aren't like,
These aren't law.
these aren't like law change, you know, a lot of them.
These are
I would not
the
worry
NWMLS.
about that. I want you guys to get your deal. So don't freak out and just kick a, you know, you just never know what would happen, because sometimes people are like, oh, maybe we should change our mind. No, get it signed around.
Just because they did a new form, you got an agreement with the terms already agreed to.
Yeah, I'm not scared of a lot of these changes. Most of these changes are just clarity. They're trying to create some more clarity, you know, and just making things easier to understand for the consumer. And you'll kind of see that as soon as we start breaking down into some of the forms, especially like in the inspection form. The changes that they made in there is making it clear about how the rules have always been, but it's hard for brokers to understand, and so I think that they've kind of made clarity in that. So, all right, let's dive in deep. So first form up is 22A, financing contingency. So what we got here is the very unique language that has been in our contracts for many years, and they are removing it. And it is, if not waived, the financing contingency shall survive the closing date. What are they talking about here? What do you guys remember this?
Mm-mm.
Remember 2A and 2B, right?
Yeah.
2A is that it's the seller's notice to perform, right? So this has always been that way. And until that is issued, it's not waived,
Right.
right? So what they're trying to clarify is that it is still that way, but they don't have to make the statement about if it's not waived. They're just gonna make it, they're making it clearer by just, it keeps going until that is signed. They don't want it to kind of glorify it and put it into the top part of the language. So that's the first change, which not a big deal. Second change is in the waiver of financing contingency, right? So if buyer fails to make the written loan application for financing for the property within the agreed time, which is defaulted to the 5 days, right? They've removed the word or. They're just keeping it at numbers. The attorneys changed this many years ago for numbers now, and so it's 1, 2, 3, but they use the Roman numerals, right? So I, 1, 2 I's, 2, 3 I's, 3. So they're doing it that way to basically separate the clauses. So either, you know, any one of those items that the buyer still has to make, that's still the case. The thing that they're adding is seller's prior written consent after the agreed upon time to apply for financing expires, and now this is where the addition is being added, or 4 changes the lender from, and it's not applicable if not filled in, without seller's prior written consent. So now there's the lender, you're filling in the lender who it is. There's been definitely, you guys all know, I mean, how many times have you, and I just dealt with this myself. How many times have you dealt with the fact that you get a loan approval letter with your offer, the deal comes over, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, week and a half, 2 weeks in the deal, you're calling for a follow-up, checking in. Hey, lender, how's it going? They're like,
What are you talking
oh, what? No, sorry, I didn't get this file. The borrower went with someone else. Has that happened to you? Yeah.
What about change of loan product? Same lender, but change of loan product.
Well, that still constitutes the same. If you make a change to your loan type,
Okay,
that still requires consent.
Yeah.
That would be on the 35C consent or AC. Josh?
There's a time window in which they can change the lender without permission, right?
Right. And that is 5 days because, well, it's not really it's not changing the lender. It's just that they have to make written loan application. Where's Mr. Hafner?
He's in a meeting.
Oh, he is? Dang it. I was gonna have him talk about this. Oh, there he is. He just got off the phone. Perfect timing. We're talking about financing addendum, Aaron, the new
Oh,
changes and the
the favorite one.
updates.
Yeah, okay.
So what does a borrower need to do in order to make a loan application?
Oh, we had that. We had,
Remember, we just
Yeah,
didn't have this thing, so
yeah.
it's address of the property.
Well, that's the biggest one. So
That's always the biggest one.
Yeah,
People are
so
like,
to make
"Oh,
it an
yeah."
app, I was just talking about this, to make it an application, we need like a bunch of stuff, but basically you need a social security number, you need a birthday, you need a name. The biggest one that the one that we always wait at the end is for the address.
Yeah. they need
Once
to
we
address
have an
it.
address and we have the remaining elements, that becomes an application and we have to disclose it within 3 days. So I guess technically sometimes, someone's like, hey, Aaron, I saw this house over the weekend.
Yeah,
Oh, there's the address. I guess technically I got to make it an application, but you don't do, it's usually when I get the purchase and sales agreement is when it tells me they're under contract and I have the application,
Mhm.
then I need to make it an application. So,
yeah,
but those are things, it's not because it's pre-approved, it's
Right.
made an application. It's because I had that last element, which is the actual property address and the contract,
yeah.
right?
So the new update is gonna be changes the lender from not applicable if not filled in without seller's prior written consent. So the first kind of big change you guys are gonna have to be doing is filling in the lender.
Where is it?
Change the lender from whoever they're.
1B.
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
So that's a new thing,
And if you leave it blank, it's not
not applicable.
not
Yeah,
binding.
it's like before. It's just stating you're not supposed to change the lender from that other person.
Mhm.
Oh, you're specifying the lender
Mhm.
on that.
So you basically already have to be pre-approved or working to get pre-approved.
It's not just the pre-approved, it's written loan application. Because that's the real key thing, and it's gonna make a little more sense. Once we get into the earnest money line, which is on the second page. In this area, yeah, it'll make more sense when we get to that, because in order for the buyer to get a return of their earnest money, you gotta have proof of the 3 items. And it's kind of 4 items, because the first item's kind of 2 things in one. It's proof that they made the loan application in time. And a full copy of that loan commitment. Or
Yeah, on the loan commitment, so if you need to get, so usually on the denial, right? So on the denial that if you can't do it, they'll have typically have the 3 elements on there, and basically the date you
including
made
loan
application.
estimate, the loan estimate.
Yeah, it gives you a loan estimate, and then the denial letter would show when the loan estimate shows when they made application.
Right,
And then, and the reason why we're not doing it, okay.
yep, so we'll dive into that
I'm
one.
not familiar with that one that much.
No,
So just if we have a pre-approval letter, it has the lender name on there, should we put that on here when we're representing buyer?
yeah,
Instead of just leaving it blank?
Unless they're.
well, unless they're shopping, I don't know, I mean.
Well, that's what happens, the
I mean,
conversation
they're
I
gonna
have,
do it.
like, you don't know, once I'm under contract, then, hey, do you want to make application? They go, I want to shop around, okay, well, I
Mhm.
can't, yeah, I don't know, yeah.
And the reason that they're doing this is just because, like I said, like, how many of you guys getting this, like, wait a minute, you changed lenders, didn't tell us. And that is definitely like unsettling, like, great, are we gonna close on time now? Is appraisal ordered yet? I mean, we're all doing the proper things to follow up, for our sellers. To make sure that we are, that they're making the loan application on time. That they're getting the appraisal ordered, like, we want these things to close, and if you don't do it. You're leaving it up to chance
We're
and
talking to
hoping.
the lender before you even accept the offer
Oh,
on,
I
hey,
know.
I'm asking about X, Y, and Z, but that all changes if they don't stick with that
Yeah,
lender.
I know, and that's the part that sellers get upset about, and they're like, wait, I took this deal because. I like.
Well, we
this
call the lender, I will
I
talk to the
called
listing
them,
agent,
yeah, we
right,
called
and you
them,
feel a
yeah.
report, I
I
trust
feel
you,
good,
right?
I
And
trust
then-
them.
Yeah.
And now they changed because they can get a, like, $500 free,
Whatever they feel is valuable
Yeah,
to them,
exactly.
right? So, but the trick is you just gotta make sure they make the application.
Yes,
The application is once the actual we have the actual address, then they should make application within the 5 days, if not filled in, whatever it is.
so
Yeah.
first biggest change is now you gotta get consent to change lenders. So that's the big piece to this.
Quick side note, because I get this question all the time. Eric, what do you recommend? So lender from Priority Home Mortgage, they're gonna do a conventional first. Aaron runs in and says, we're gonna switch to FHA. It's before the 5 days. Should they do a form change?
Yes, then you still have to do the 22AC. Yeah, you still have to use a form because you're changing the financing type that seller agreed to.
Yep.
That could change appraisal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Things, that could change, I mean, well, right away, you change to a product of FHA or VA or USDA or some of the.
Yeah.
Or some of the DPAs, there's more cost to that seller. So that's the main reason
Oh, the
why
VA,
you're
if you
not allowed
switch
to
it to
do that.
VA and
Oh,
you don't have the.
half of escrow.
Yeah, exactly.
You got the whole half of
Yeah.
escrow. Question in the back,
So
Josh?
do you think after day 4, you call the list or the buyer's agent and say, hey, where are your applications at, or is that?
Oh, that'd be great. I mean, that would be a good job, yeah, for your seller to call and say, hey, how you guys doing? Did you make a loan application now? Is that done?
Call them, because we had that happen in another.
Yeah, maybe call the lender.
They sent us the financing form changed like 13 days after we, with mutual, like, oh, we proved this within the first 5 days, and we're like, oh, really? And we didn't
So
push
they
it.
can, yeah, the old form allowed, and you still can, if this is blank, treat it like the old way that your client could still switch lenders. As long as, the whole thing is they gotta make a loan application in 5 business
So,
days.
so if you put priority in the first line,
If you do
and
that,
then you go to change, then you have to.
now you need permission. Now you need permission.
So is it?
Well, within the 5 days.
No, you need permission now, no matter what.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You put it in there. Okay, got it. All
So
right.
you need 22AC to get permission to change a lender when it's filled in. That's why they're saying not applicable if blank. So if you better talk to your buyers and say, hey, are you solid on your lender? Are you shopping around at all? And if they say, leave it blank. Otherwise you
Yeah.
could be, you'd have to get permission.
Okay, so now let's switch to the seller side. You just said, oh, leave it blank.
Mhm.
This comes to me blank. I'm like,
So we counter it. If you like that lender, exactly.
On the pre-approval letter.
You like the lender on the pre-approval letter and the
That'd be
broker,
awesome.
listing broker had a conversation. Like, that's good, great. I had a almost 30-minute conversation this morning on the way to work with the lender who submitted an offer for my seller's listing. So it's feels pretty good to get real good insight, for the seller, and yeah, you don't want them switching. So you're absolutely right.
As a buyer broker, though, I think I'd be inclined just to leave it blank. Would that be the best interest of my buyer?
That's exactly what I'm telling you guys.
Yeah, so.
yeah, but on the seller side,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, again, I need to, especially if as a listing agent, I'm calling to talk to that lender.
Yeah.
And he is like, oh no, they are good to go. We've got this, and that. I'm assuming nobody else has all that information
Mhm.
because I'm talking to this person.
100%.
And so I'm probably gonna come back and say,
Yeah.
counter and say, okay, this is who you shown as your pre-approval letter. This is who I want you to use. You have to make a decision
That's
or
great.
we
Yeah.
don't have a deal,
Can you
Don't go
do an
switch
or?
your
Josh.
right?
Yeah.
You do an or in there?
No,
Or,
no.
Priority or guilt, and have 2 pre-approval.
That's
That's,
yeah, I mean,
So you have to hear.
well, that's a valid question, and I don't know for the people on Zoom, I don't know if you could hear, but Josh's question was, can we put more than one lender? This or that. Until I see the forms manual, it doesn't say only one name can see, this is the type of thing, it's hard when we're trying to do training sessions on these things, without having the manual to see a little bit further explanations on it, it's hard to know 100% for that. Being as a listing broker, talking to my seller, I'd be like, hell no, make your decision. What are we doing here? Most buyers these days should be fully underwritten approved before they're out shopping. I'm
If you
sorry.
can, yeah, that's.
That
yeah.
really should be the way.
That's great. I have one buyer who's a investor,
Mhm.
and I think we've done more deals where he's tried to switch it
Yeah,
mid-deal than not.
yeah,
And a couple times where he's like, oh, I got a thing on better, and I was like, dude,
yeah.
if you
Dude.
switch to this, you're gonna lose it.
Yeah, dude, you switch it after the 5 day, I mean, how it is right now, you waive financing,
Yeah.
so. Last question,
I'm
Rob.
thinking in terms of basic contracting law, you have to, my thought is you have to have a specific
Yeah.
lender, not a buffet,
Buffet,
yeah.
multi-choice.
Instead of not leaving anything blank.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in this case, but it's, I mean, again, being a buyer broker, you better know the answer, because if you fill it in and then they change, you don't want your buyer waiving financing.
Mm-mm.
Cause that's what it's gonna be without permission.
Mhm.
I mean, that's the thing, the attorneys, they want more teeth in the contract for sellers, because they don't get much in there anyway. It's way geared more protecting the buyer than it is seller, so. I mean, it's just one more thing, and it's definitely something that's been going for a while, and I know it's annoying, I just dealt with it myself. It's not cool, I mean, it's like, oh, great, okay, well, I really hope they made loan application on time, cause otherwise we'll be going for your earnest money. Right? I mean, that's pretty much your same thought too, right?
So one of the agents I used to work with, she's out of the business now, but she used to have her clients actually email me, I formally want to make application. So it kind of puts it in their court to kind of like,
Oh, that's cool.
you know, okay.
Yeah.
One more time, what was that?
She would just have the client, so if you're working with the buyer, you would have the buyer just email me saying, oh, look, we're under contract, Aaron, I formally want to make application.
Yeah.
So at least it's got, I mean, hey, I sent it in, the lender screwed up, you know what I mean, like that kind of stuff, so at least. Cause that helps me out too, cause if I don't get the contract within a couple days, I don't know if you're under contract.
Yeah, you're delaying the lender,
Yeah.
I mean, that's. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's,
but typically it doesn't happen much, but yeah, I mean.
yep.
I thought-
All right, let's break
Sorry.
down number 4, thank you, Aaron.
Yeah. No problem.
Earnest money, so if buyer has not waived the financing contingency, so this is where it's gonna kind of piece things together, and it'll be clear on why, you've gotta make sure you're gonna know what you're gonna do about that earlier change. So if, and is unable to obtain financing by, now they've added the word the closing date. So now they've actually defined by the closing date, after a good faith effort, then on buyer's notice, now they're adding on or before the closing date, this agreement shall terminate. The earnest money shall be refunded to buyer. And now they're adding in this whole verbiage here as a consequence of buyer's failure to obtain financing only if, so now they kind of define it just a little bit further, that it's only if the buyer has done all these items. Cause I don't know about you guys, but when you have a deal die, like, and the buyer like, oh, sorry, buyer couldn't get financing. Some brokers, they just send a form 51, right? That's wrong. Right? They just send that, they should be sending the 90I. And that also, states, that's the notice, the official notice that buyer has, after a good faith effort, has, cannot obtain financing in a form 50. And it clearly states, in our contracts, earnest money should be refunded to the buyer as long as they've had a good faith effort. But they still, in order to get this earnest money back, they've got to provide A, B, and C. And they should have lettered them A, B, C, and D. Because, and I'll read this next, but it's like, this is the part that gets missed all the time. So as a consequence of buyer's failure to obtain financing, only if lender confirms in writing to seller, and now they're doing a timeline within 20 days of the date of buyer's termination notice. I would really like to know, why are they making it so long? I don't understand, like, why isn't this 5 days? Realistically, if buyer didn't qualify and the lender knows,
Isn't 21,
21 days is default for the seller's notice to perform. 21 days also default for automated termination for both, 2A and 2B.
If you don't have a sign, isn't it interpleader after 21?
Yeah, I mean, would be interplet anyway.
Yeah, but I think what they're trying to do is solve it before it even gets to that date.
By a date.
Maybe, I don't know.
It'd be nice to know. I'll ask the forms committee and.
They're trying to find a
Jeannie.
backup. Here, give them a little bit of time to find.
Well, now that's gonna be another part. You're going a little bit ahead, but yeah, I was gonna quiz you guys on something, so. Just wait. It's coming. All right, so buyer's notice, right? So here are the items. A, B, C, and D. So the first thing is A, and why I think they should do A, B, C, and D instead of just the three. The first thing is the date buyer's loan application for the property was made, right? And then it goes comma, including a copy of the loan estimate. Aaron, loan estimates don't always have the date of the loan application made, correct? From the one I had from US Bank, it did not.
Generated.
Huh?
I'll tell you the date it was generated.
They'll tell you the date that that was generated. Right. And usually they do that 3 days.
You have to do 3 days after we're notified it becomes an application.
Okay,
That doesn't count Saturdays or Sundays or holidays.
right. So see what I mean? Like you get that, now you're trying to calculate. Rather than, okay, lender, can you provide something, another piece of documentation that proves when did the buyer make loan application? So that's kind of why I think they should separate both of those. So that it's A, B, C, and D. Just because, and I have heard some lenders put the date on there, which I still haven't seen it.
But
I haven't seen
you
one.
necessarily don't need to have an application to generate a loan estimate.
Right.
That's the deal. That's
Yeah.
why the application date isn't on there because you don't.
You don't
have
need
to.
it, you don't
Yeah.
have to have it, right?
Mhm.
So that's why another reason, like, why don't they separate this? So, I'll ask about that, but. You still have to get all these items. The next was B, the buyer possessed sufficient non-contingent funds to close. Example, down payment, closing costs, etc. And then C, the reasons buyer was unable to obtain financing by closing. So that's basically the denial letter, right? If seller terminates the agreement, obviously earnest money goes back, but gotta get all three, A, B, and C, to get, all of those items in order for earnest money to be returned. But what happens on our industry mostly? What do brokers usually release it upon?
Inspection.
No. With financing, when it comes like from those items, what typically? Are they usually, they're like, okay, and then you just sign off on it and. Just the denial letter. Exactly. We had one on our side where the buyer, like, unfortunately lost their job and, they had to cancel the deal. And I had our buyer broker was like, well, this is weird. Like, I just sent the 90I and then the denial letter and then the 50, and then they just signed it. Like right away. I didn't have to provide them anything else. I'm like, well, I guess you're good then. I mean, if they already signed off on it, I guess they're satisfied enough, but they're supposed to give all of those items, all, 3 items. So it's just, again, another reminder for you guys to make sure you're getting all of the required items. So what if buyer changes lender without consent? This is gonna be very confusing, especially with the new change. But what if they change lender without consent, like on day 15? They're gonna keep the same loan type, so don't, confuse it with, it's exactly the same, conventional first, 20% down. But ABC mortgage couldn't do it, but now XYZ mortgage can do it. Can the buyer do that and wait and not waive financing, or did they waive financing?
They
What do you
waived
think?
financing. They waived.
Huh?
If they have seller's consent.
They waive financing.
Well, they made application first with the first lender that denied them.
They changed.
So think about this.
I think they've waived.
Back to square one.
Yes.
It's very confusing, but Annie has a video on this and the buyer can do that without waiving financing.
Because they were.
Why? They made application on time with the first lender.
It's the same
Now they had to do the same.
But that's with the old rule, right? Now.
Well, I'm gonna jump into that and don't go too far ahead, Boise. Like,
Is it
That's
blank
not
filled in
ahead.
or not?
The last thing says either it's filled in now or it's not, or.
no, I know, I'm just saying from the old form.
Okay.
So you don't even have that option. So I know you guys, this is one that's gonna catch you, but buyer has a duty of good faith effort to obtain financing.
Sure.
First lender denied them,
Yeah.
said, sorry, we can't do this. But XYZ can. So buyer can make that switch and they did not constitute a
That's
waiver.
only if it was denied.
But it's only if it was denied first and only if they made that first written loan application on time. Now they're gonna have to make another loan application. But they have a duty of good faith effort to obtain financing for the property. Annie has a video on it. Guaranteed, like, people argue about it all the time. But this is one of the things, like, I know it's a sidebar and it's a thing that it doesn't happen often. Cause how many times, usually buyer brokers are good about communicating, saying, hey, but first lender can't do it. We got someone else, I got them to my preferred lender says, yes, they can do this. They've already been through underwriting, checked it out, and they said, they're looking good. So we're gonna go ahead and make the switch. It's okay to still do a 22 AC and make the actual change in writing. It's okay to do it, but they don't actually have to in that event only. But now I'm gonna switch things up on you because now that the form has changed and you are actually writing in, if you do write in the lender, now if you change from that lender whatsoever, now you will have to use the 22 AC to get permission.
Do it
Make
before
sense?
you switch.
Do it before you
Set up the
switch?
form before you switch.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, that's what I'm saying. You guys the buyer better know who they're using if you're filling that in. And then listing brokers too, if you're gonna counter and you want that filled in, right? You don't want them to be able to change, then you do that. All right, any last questions before we move on? Cause I think that's the last change.
Clarify, so now the change,
Oh,
if the buyer made formal application with the first lender but got denied. And then switched to a different lender without seller's consent, they're not waiving the financing, right?
Correct. On the new form, only if that is blank, that new section. If it's filled in, all that is off the table. And see, and that's the reason why, because she even explained like, well, buyer can switch if they got denied, because they still have a duty of good faith to get financing, right? She has a good YouTube video. You can look it up and watch it. But now it's defined now, if it gets defined. But if not, it's just like the old way is. All right. That is it for A. Woo! One down and we got like 47 forms to go. So. Moz is like, oh, please be joking there. Please be joking. There's not that many. There's only 31 total pages, but it's every form here that's being changed. Okay, so let's jump to the inspection addendum. First things first, they are clarifying that the buyer or a person licensed under the RCW 18280, which is a licensed Washington State home inspector, can engage, right, and can do home inspections. But now they're clarifying that buyer may engage specialists, example, plumbers, electricians, roofers, etc., to conduct further inspections of the property. And now they've actually finally done it, if they've defined it, that during the inspection period.
Oh, no.
Right, but why did they do this?
Yeah.
Because of your financing, if your inspection contingency passed, it ended, you're like, oh, but I need more inspection. It has to be done within that same period.
I think for the seller side of it, I think the seller side, cause you could do your inspection and then you wanna send a professional out there and the seller's like, well, wait, you already did your inspection, so why do I have to let them do an electrical inspection? And
Maybe another
I've had that happen where the seller didn't want them in the house.
Yeah.
Sellers-
Oh yeah, that's a small piece of it, but Josh kind of touched on it, and this is the part that confused so many people, is that further evaluations, right? That's what a home inspector, that's the F word that home inspectors use to pretty much put your client on notice that they better get an expert to come back and to further evaluate these items. But the big misconception in our industry that everyone has missed for many, many years, and we had to even clarify this with Justin Haig, the lead attorney from NWMLS, but now he's the president, that you can actually go back to the property as many times as you want during even the first initial inspection period.
Yeah.
for those items.
Yeah.
Right? I know, but most brokers don't understand that.
Yeah.
They're like, oh no, you have to give notice for further evaluations. Okay. You can,
If you need
But-
more days.
that's it.
Say that again?
John said it.
If you need more days.
If you need more time,
Yeah.
the reason why that was always there is if you need more time. Because most of the time when you need an expert to come back, the good ones are usually booked up, right? They're hard to get back there in time. So that's the whole reason. The forms have always been that way. They just they're like, oh, well, it's obvious, right? We said, a long time ago, like who the specialist could be. Now, they've updated the forms, even Joe Perkins, I'm surprised he's not here. He might be on the Zoom world, but we went back and forth and talked about this in depth, and he pulled through all his old contracts. He goes, here's all the changes. Look, they've even defined back even, on this date. I'm like, yeah, but it's always been this way. They've meant for us to be able to do this. Why it hasn't been like a thing that they're gonna kind of glorify and push harder is because you definitely, being listing brokers and having a seller, like living, like in their home with their kids and like trying to like leave with, if they keep coming back and forth, like, give me a break. Come on. Like, can't you guys get this all scheduled as close as possible? At the same time, you gotta be, be nice about it and make sure that it's try to get it all done, around the same time.
So are you saying that all of the initial inspection, the specialists all have to be done within 10 days now?
No,
No.
no,
Okay, so what's
they can be done.
the change to the form?
They're clarifying the wording during the inspection. So they're talking about the, like, no matter what, it's during the inspection. Is it before you had to give additional notice of additional, time? Or after it? It doesn't matter. So that's why they're
Basically-
using this exact phrase
Your
during
real-
the inspection.
Your real world's like, you did the inspection, day 2, you have a 10-day inspection. You're gonna bring your electrician in day 4, and now your plumber day 6.
Yeah.
But it's all within the period. People think that it's not additional inspections, you're just able to bring
Yeah.
your inspectors in.
The
during-
big misconception is exactly that everyone thought that just because they are coming back to further evaluate, they thought that immediately constituted, oh, I have to give notice. And they're like, oh, no, you don't have to. If you can get it done in the time you still have, don't issue it. Okay, so that's the first part. Next that they're updating is the sewer inspection, and they're using the same verbiage during the inspection period, same exact phrase. Because the sewer scope can be done, whether it's, before or after the additional time. Most people, most home inspectors these days are, they do it as well, right? They usually do both. Most buyers, you wanna use someone who does it at the same time. You don't wanna have to come back to the property, right? Get it all done at once. Josh?
So you don't have to do a full inspection first? Do you have to do a full inspection first, or can you say, I wanna get the sewer scoped, my inspector can't get here till day 5, sewer scope guy can come here on day 2?
That seems
You
reasonable.
send it in before your main inspection?
As long as it's within
Great
the-
question.
That seems
It's
reasonable.
fine.
It seems
It's,
like it.
It's an
it's
inspection.
fine. You can.
Right.
That would be
But
different,
you don't have
as
to have a
long as
specific-
that sewer scope person is not getting outside of their box.
Yeah.
Like, if they show up, they're like, yep, I'm doing the sewer scope. They're like, ooh, maybe we should check the attic. And like, that's where I'd be like, wait a sec, no, the home inspector needs to like do that one. If you're gonna bring the specialist, like usually you do not bring the specialist before the home inspector goes. Usually you do not, but you can in that type of sense, but I would try not to. Because you really do want that home inspector to be the person to say, further evaluate these items.
Slight sidebar here. I found it to be pretty worthwhile to ask your seller if there's an exterior flush out. So that if there is a sewer scope, they don't have to take the toilet apart. I actually had one property where they wanted to do the sewer scope, but the inspector didn't want to take apart the toilet. I guess they've been sued at some point.
It's liability.
Yeah, so
Well,
get
depending on what
clarification
that-
of things.
what that looks like the whole toilet sitch.
Yeah.
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 Need to put a seal.
Case by case scenario, it'd be different. All right, let's keep going. Next part, they're adding in all of these wordings about OSS. Did you guys, you can have the sewer scope people come and actually do the lines from the house to the septic tank?
Yeah.
Totally can. Has anyone ever done it?
Yeah,
You have?
You have?
yeah.
Interesting.
I would not have had that done. The buyers wanted it done.
Yeah, totally can.
And I'm like, what are you doing? I've never seen that before, and why would you do that? And da da da, so.
So it's rare, but I mean, you totally can think, I mean, if there's issues there, I mean, same types of things can happen in those lines as they do with the sewer lines.
I mean, it's-
So why not?
That's kind of nice too, especially if.
Yeah.
The county doesn't have a septic addendum, like there's some county has, like you have to get it inspected.
Right.
For every septic.
Yeah.
Not all counties are like that, so sometimes you could put a scope
Yeah.
into the septic tank. You can
Yeah.
actually see some things, can't really see cracks, when it's full of water.
Yeah.
Things, but.
So they're just defining this further, you guys, just that the OSS, including septic systems, and inspection limited to the lines connected to the dwellings to the OSS, the sewer inspection. They got rid of the word and may require the inspector to remove toilets or fixtures to access the sewer line. So it says it right in there. When our sellers sign off on this, they're agreeing to allow that to happen. You know, but again, if you taken my inspecting the inspection contingency course with the clock hour course, I go into depth on why you never allow any inspection to be performed on your seller's property without that 35 in the deal. Ever, never, ever. Because if you do, seller's gonna be liable for anything that happens. But if you have it, buyer is responsible for any damage that happens. Just last year, like in November, I think it was, we had, or maybe it was December, we had in our office, one of our listings, the inspector was doing his sewer scope from the roof, and he was throwing the camera down the line, and all of a sudden he's like, oh, it's stuck. And you know, got it free, pull it up, and he's like, oh, where's my camera? And then he's like, oh, well, I don't know, I'm gonna have to come back. I can't, finish the inspections. So they told our listing broker that, hey, we couldn't finish the inspection, we'll have to come back and reschedule. Left, sellers came home, took showers, did laundry, went to the bathroom, kids. Middle of the night, what's that sound? Totally backed up everywhere. They had to call emergency plumbing out. It was like $8,900 later. Right? And buyer was responsible. And the buyer's like, yeah, I changed we're backing out.
Yeah.
Terminated, It's like, why wouldn't you call us and say there's a camera stuck in our sewer line? Like, great way to get sued. But anyway, just do not allow inspection in your seller's house.
Plumber would not want to tell you that.
Yeah.
That just-
Yeah. Terrible. All right, let's keep going.
The thing is, these inspectors are trying.
So they've clarified further and removed the word initial inspection period. Okay, so now it's just the inspection period. So same thing, default. And then of course it says 35R and they define the name of the form, inspection response. Maybe they've done that because they've had some brokers just send a 34 without the 35R. Have you guys experienced that before?
Yeah.
Yeah, not supposed to do that. All right, next is going into the inspection report again, right? So this has been updated. Buyer shall not provide the inspection report or portions of the report to seller unless seller requests otherwise in writing. This does not prohibit buyer from including buyer's descriptions or requested repairs or modifications or copies of contractors' bids with Form 35R pursuant to paragraph 3 and 6 of this addendum. Upon seller's written request, buyer shall provide to seller concurrent with delivery of Form 35R or within 1 day after seller delivers Form 35C. Now they're defining even further about how much timeline you have to get things over to the seller. I see some confusing faces. You know what this is about? They're talking about right in here, right? Like, this is 4B from 35, so if you're the listing broker and you receive these offers, you need to sit with your seller and say, okay, seller, do you want a copy of the inspection report if they need further evaluations, inspections, or more time for inspections to get to see what items they're gonna inspect? Oh, okay, gotta mark that box. Or do you want a copy of the whole entire report? Okay, we mark this box. Or if they request repairs or modifications, that they supply the pages for, you know, just that. So this is the same, you know, this has been this way for now a few years. But if you didn't mark anything at all right, if you left it blank, then the buyer broker, you know, buyer doesn't have to provide anything. So when they're given notice of additional inspections, they just give the notice. They don't have to attach anything. If they're trying to ask for remedies or repairs, they don't have to supply anything. They just ask. We did last year deal with someone who actually sent the entire inspection report. Because they got repairs, or they're asked for, no. Oh yeah, they asked for like 40 grand off the price. Like, what the hell is wrong with the house? The house is newer, it's in really good shape. They had updates done. Like, give me a break. What, you know, could constitute 40 grand? And so they sent the whole inspection report.
Oh.
Right? Because they did mark the 35C that they wanted to get items for in which they, you know, are asking for or for remedies. And so they go, oh, well, it's for the whole, all these items.
No,
You think they can do that?
no, no.
Inspections waived. Like, no. If that was the case, don't include the cover letter. Don't include the disclosures of that inspection. Don't include, you know what I'm saying? Don't include any of the fluff in that whole thing. If you were trying to do that tactic, then you include just items only. They could have got away with it that way. But since they included the whole report, no, we confirmed with the attorneys. They go, no, that doesn't, you can't do that. Nice try. It's like you waived it. So that was fun.
The same thing though.
Huh?
Because I mean, if you're basically including all of the verbiage for all of the things that are wrong.
Well,
Effectively.
No,
the
but
same.
you know what
I
I'm
don't
saying,
think
like they
there's
got,
something- things that are right. This was fine. This is the location of the clean out.
oh yeah, you wouldn't, that's what I'm saying. You've removed all of the fluff, only items of correction are needed.
You should put that on a Word document yourself, right? Rewrite it yourself, if you did ask for anything.
You can clip, use the clipping tool and just snatch the pieces, put it in a Word doc, make one PDF. I mean, that's probably the best way. But just be really careful, you know, with that. We saw that last year and it's like, you kidding me?
But you're allowed to provide copies of contractor bids without, it says.
Yes.
Approved by, including buyer's description.
That, it's always been that way, and now they're, that's why they've defined it. Now it's in the contract,
I
you
just-
don't.
I just had somebody send me contractor bid that included. Essentially was a contractor bid, but they included a bunch of pictures that were in the inspection report and essentially used similar descriptions. And so I don't know how that does.
Are you sure it was the inspection report, or did it come from the?
Sure, I mean, I don't know, I didn't see the actual inspection report.
This
but-
is the exact issue in the argument of why there's been firms and people like, oh, you waived the inspection completely because your bid had the inspection in it. Like, no, this came from the company.
But how does that not, because the whole point is, you don't wanna send the inspection reports, it's gonna make them, you know.
Well,
Aware of the issues, but how does a contractor bid not make the seller aware? Saying,
I mean, I mean, it's a valid argument, I give you that, but this is the problem, and this has been hurting our industry forever. You guys know damn well, these 35Rs are coming over and it's saying things like, seller should
Yeah.
have the roof inspected. And yeah, I've seen labs, you guys know this is the kind of crap that's coming over on contracts. Brokers are terrible, but brokers are not the expert. You're like, we're put in the middle of this negotiation for the right repairs and the right remedies to be performed on a property. That's not our expertise. Annie has said a million times, like the best, way for inspections to be handled is the inspector goes out there. The inspector identifies items that need further evaluations. The experts come out, the experts write up a bid. You, as the buyer broker say, okay, seller, hire ABC Roofing to complete all items on the attached bid. Done. Here, send it over. You're not writing any language or words of what needs to be done and performed, because that's the part that gets screwed up all the time.
How does
It's
that-
never good.
How does that not create the seller's obligation to? Yeah, to disclose.
Seller doesn't have to make new disclosures unless that deal dies.
Well, if the deal dies,
It's an opinion.
What I'm saying is, yeah, so then the deal dies, that's what the inspection report does, is creates an obligation for the seller to then have to disclose. But essentially, that contractor bid does the same thing, but they're allowed to do
That's
that.
an opinion.
It's an opinion, but typically, how many bids come over with all of the stuff that was in an inspection report?
I
Never.
just-
It doesn't.
I'm literally doing, I call Tony on it.
A contractor that's like everything.
I mean, is there like?
Everything on the inspection report.
The way I learned it was like, if you send out the whole report unsolicited, that it's basically.
Yep.
But if you're sending out specific pages or chunks that are only dealing with, so you're asking, what does that take? No?
Yeah, dude, you can't do that unless permission's been granted.
I'm saying you've given permission.
If the permission's granted, then yes, John.
Okay.
I try to insert a John Stein common sense thing here. In your case, if you boot that buyer, is the next buyer likely to ask for the exact same thing? And if there's a high likelihood of that, you're better off probably resolving it with the first buyer, because unless you do, you've got the implication of a failed inspection plus more marketing time until you get sent.
Yeah, I don't think so. Buyer asked for $130,000 in repairs. Yeah,
Well,
That's crazy.
yeah, it's like this isn't a new house, guys.
So I'm wondering, you would know, so the person he had go out and look at the items that he wanted to sell. Right, what was the contractor?
Contractor should,
And they-
that's the inspection report. Right, I guess, I mean, that's what he must have done, and then evaluated every single thing that was in.
And
that
gave a
report.
bid for all of it.
To give a bid, yeah, that's what happened.
That's allowed. I mean, it is allowed.
Yeah.
If he's the person that's gonna do it. We gotta remember and tell our sellers like, hey, seller, yeah, can we get this done cheaper? Probably. But if we hire buyer's guy and buyer has issues in the future, who are you gonna tell them to call, say, bro, like if there's issues in the future after closing, hey, that's your problem. You chose the contractor. You go see him.
So,
Huh?
I tried.
I mean, I guess I haven't done that many deals that have had to deal with this, like, as a seller, I would be. Very reluctant to hire somebody else's. Contractor to fix my stuff. On my house, knowing that I could maybe do it. Same job, or like it might be his brother, might be padding a bunch of.
Well, I mean, licensed and bonded, don't forget.
Bonded doesn't mean they're straight there.
Oh, I know. You're gonna get an array.
you can always get a counter bid.
Sure.
All right, let's continue. Pursuant to paragraph 3 and 6 of this addendum, so upon seller's written request, now there's a defined date, right, or timeline here. Buyer shall provide to seller concurrent with delivery of Form 35R or within 1 day after seller delivers Form 35C. So if a seller gives a 35C and now they ask for these, for that, now that buyer broke, you gotta get it sent over.
Yes.
What's 35C again?
Consent. 35C is consent for seller to receive either, it's exactly these 3 items again. So if you miss it during the initial offer and you send and sign that back and send it back and you didn't mark any of the boxes, you can still do it later. But now they're defining like, cause there's been some buyer brokers like, we're not sending it to you. Like, oh, we're asking for, 40 grand off. We're not sending you anything, like, well, we don't think anything's wrong with our house. Like, cause I guarantee you guys have been in that situation, that's been the problem. And then you're not getting the, you're not getting the buyer broker to cooperate. We had that last month in here. We had a seller, same situation, like, he took really good care of his house, kept his crawl space clean, he'd go down every like 6 months and check it out, replace like, I heard people putting Irish Spring soap in their, right, in their crawl space, keep rodents away, and that, like, I mean, the seller, when they ask for money, he was like, what, are they just like asking for money? Because there's nothing wrong with it, I mean, and our broker's like, yeah, I kind of agree, this like, I don't see anything, and like, crawl space is amazing, attic is amazing, like, I don't know where they're finding these items.
I kind of feel like.
So they wanted it and they refused to give the proof. They just said, oh, okay, yeah, we'll send, no, and they just wouldn't send it. We're like, yeah, well, since you're not sending the proof, we're really not gonna agree to like discounting the sale. Question?
Yeah, I just feel like that happened more when they were really competitive bidding. People would bid, and then that was part of their strategy, and then they'd
Yeah.
ask for a bunch of money on the back end, and
Yeah.
then you kind of trap the seller into.
They tried to. Well, the old trap was they would send the full report to you, right? That before all of that, before the whole updates to the, the actual form itself, or you cannot send the inspection report to a seller,
This
to
is how we do
the, huh?
This is how it was.
This is how it was. Yeah, people were like, here you go, read it and weep. We're gonna ask for, I don't know, 16 items. You don't do them,
We're
No,
gonna have to.
we're
disclose
out.
to the
You're
next
gonna have to
buyer.
disclose this to the next buyer.
That's what it said.
That was the tactic.
Yeah.
And everyone's tired of that. And I agree, that's not right either. Crazy?
So what happens if you don't send over that 35C in the one day?
Well, it doesn't state anything, but it does state that it's gonna go concurrent to delivery of Form 35R. Like, you better, like, you got 1 day from when that's supposed to be sent. You better get it over. There's no definition yet that I'm seeing. And again, I don't have the forms manual to say, oh yeah, buyer just has to deposit another 5 grand now to the seller for free money. I mean, there's no penalty yet. There's nothing defined in that. It's not it's not saying that it's waived or anything, but there is at least some now teeth in the contract that you better do it by a timeline. Question, Josh?
So is the default to check all those boxes or to not do it because of disclosure?
No, there's no default for that. You gotta talk with your seller and say, seller, do we really want a copy of the whole inspection report?
Well,
It's a case by case scenario. You're not gonna ever do that because what if the house is in bad shape? What if it's an estate sale? Like, no, we can't disclose anyway. Like, no, we don't want anything. So.
Is there any change if I have one seller who just does the inspection himself?
If a seller does the inspection?
Or sorry, the buyer.
The buyer can.
Right, is there any change?
Nope,
or
that's still the same.
Still saying.
By law, buyer can't perform it themselves, not an uncle with them, wink, wink, who was a builder for 20 years. Bluff, yeah, don't fall in that trap. Jeez.
So let's go back to that though.
Mhm.
So the buyer does his own little inspection.
Mhm.
And now he's asking for items by the seller.
Mhm.
He don't have a report
Right.
per se because he did a visual himself. How do you address that?
Well, if you're addressing it, I mean, you really address it no differently. If the buyer's gonna write notes on a piece of paper, like, wow, that roof, like in the attic, looks like there's mold, we want this to be cleaned and remedied. He wrote a note.
Yeah.
That's his inspection report.
Okay.
No different.
Could you then not
Annie
get
says
additional
that,
inspections?
huh?
Could you not get additional inspections? I think it said.
No,
if-
he can.
Well, it says that the inspector so recommends, right? And then if.
He himself, it wants it further evaluated. You
So he
can,
recommends.
you can, yep.
You can act as your own inspector, but you can't have somebody else
No.
acting as your inspector, that's not.
No.
an inspector.
That's not
Okay.
licensed in the
Got
state
it.
of Washington.
Okay.
All right, let's look at the next part. So additional time for inspections. If an inspector they got rid of the word so, recommends that any item requires further evaluation. Buyer may obtain such evaluation at buyer's option and expense. To receive additional time, buyer must give seller written notice of buyer's intent to obtain further inspections. They've removed all that other stuff about by a specialist at buyer's option, blah, 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 right? Or evaluations by the inspection period. Oh, before the inspection period expires. So they're just kind of, again, further clarifying that, you know, buyers can, it's either before that, for, you know, in the first timeline, or if an additional timeline, you know, additional 5 days, either or. If requested by seller,
Hello,
provide, again,
yeah.
the inspector's recommendation. So again, you gotta provide it if the seller marked the box for additional inspections
So if you're your own inspector, how would you provide that recommendation?
On paper.
on a piece of paper.
Just something just written.
Yeah. But
Interesting.
there's not many buyers doing that on their own.
If they're a
Really,
contractor,
really
maybe,
rare.
but
Maybe as a way to get around having to pay for it.
I mean, one, I'd be like, well, you gotta be licensed in the state to perform this. So I mean, pretty much you should be an expert doing this, right? If you're not, probably not a good idea, buyer.
You gotta be a licensed.
Yeah.
The only time I've run into it is when the buyer himself or herself is a contractor.
Contractor,
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so there it is again. If buyer delivers timely notice. And if requested by seller, no more it says copy of, just says in the inspector's recommendation, the inspection period shall expire
Yeah.
5 days if not filled in after buyer delivers such notice, and they're removing those other words. And that's it.
Good cleanup.
So it's a cleanup. All right, and then same thing on site sewage system, buyers advise that OSS. I don't know why they removed the definition on site sewage disposal system. It's just OSS systems are subject to strict government, OSS. They just got rid of that OSS system.
Yeah, whatever.
And I think that's because there's so many different ones. Those are the kinds that pump to the community, the, you know, the gravity ones that go off to like,
Yeah.
I think that's why they're just like, we're not even gonna like say that, because there's so many different ones. Okay, that should be it for that one.
Yay.
Woohoo! All right, 35R. Here's defining again. They're adding in, however, buyer may provide seller with buyer's descriptions of requested repairs or modifications, or copies of contractor bids related thereto. There was a famous case that happened, and we dealt with this a couple years ago. The buyer broker, for some reason, accidentally, like, you know how the inspector says like 2C, you know, section A on their report. The buyer broker copied the whole thing and pasted it in. And so they're like, hey, you supplied portions of the inspection report. I mean, he kind of did. And so they're now kind of defining it that as long as it's not the actual report itself, that those types of things, if it says a letter and a number, give me, you know, come on. I mean, it's one of those things. Is it a good way to do things? No, definitely not. But if it's letters and numbers and it's not actually from the report or of the report itself, they're defining it now that, you know, that type of thing is not going to constitute a waiver. So just watch out for that. All right. 35C, they're updating it. So this is the seller request for inspection report. So consent or is, you know, basically what you're granting here, you know, after mutual acceptance. So this isn't, you don't need it before. So concurrent with buyer's delivery of Form 35 FAR inspection response, or if buyer has already delivered Form 35R, then within 1 day after seller delivers this Form 35C, buyer shall provide seller. First thing is the inspection report. So that's the full report. 2, only the portions of the inspection report related to the requested repairs or modification to the agreement. And that's what I was talking to you guys about earlier, about be careful if someone's asking for just credit towards closing costs and in lieu of repairs, which you can't write that. I mean, that's a lender's worst nightmare, right, Aaron? You don't want to see that. Oh, in lieu of repairs, we're going to give a credit towards closing costs. Like not fixing the failing roof and the mold in the attic and the flooded basement. Give me a break. So just be careful on that one. And then the last one is a copy of the inspector's recommendation for additional inspections. Period. So now you can do that. Quasi?
So if they, let's say they check the bottom. Or not the bottom, the second one.
Yep.
About requesting repairs or modifications, but I'm just asking for a credit.
Yep.
Do we have to provide it?
If they had this marked, then yes, you do. But then you better be careful, just like I said, you better only supply your real items
But
of
if we're not-
just.
But that's what I'm saying, we're not asking for any items, we're not asking for any repairs, we're just asking.
No. That's then or modifications to the agreement. You want a modification to the agreement, there's 2 ways to modify the agreement in this sense. What are they talking about?
Okay.
Credit towards closing costs, and what's the other way? No. Rob?
Purchase price.
Lowering the purchase price, you're modifying, it's, those are the reasons.
Yeah.
So if you're doing either one of those, just be really careful and like, okay, buyer, like, I know you're, like, these repairs probably only cost about, I'm honestly probably about $2,500 and you're asking for 20. It's just, I mean, cause see, that's what they're trying to eliminate. They're trying to eliminate that tactic. Cause that's been the case. And we dealt with it, literally, a couple times. So that's it for that 35C. Next, 22D, and this one about like flip people out. They were like, what?
One's gone.
They're removing number 1. Well, let's read it. Why would we want this not as part of the agreement? I'll read it and you guys tell me. Square footage, lot size, encroachments. The listing broker and buyer broker make no representations concerning A, lot size or the accuracy of any information provided by the seller. B, the square footage of any improvements on the property. C, whether there's any encroachments, fences, rockeries, buildings on the property or by the property on adjacent properties. Buyer is advised to verify lot size, square footage, and encroachments to buyer's own satisfaction. What, Gerwinder? Why? Why would they do that?
Because you've already got it in the Form 21.
Oh, did you read ahead?
No.
It wasn't in there before. No. But the reason why they changed it and removed this out to make it a checkbox is what happens? What do brokers, most mistakes brokers do? They fail by what? They don't check it. Or they don't even include a 22D. How many of you guys received offers with no 22D at all?
Yeah.
All the time. Like, give me a break. We're not even being protected ourselves. So they've added it into the Form 21, the 28, 25. It's now in boilerplate language. When we get to that form, you'll see where they've removed it and added it right into the default. I think it's an X in our boilerplate language. You're gonna fight. Tony's mad. He's like, what? I guess that means you need to measure the house yourself, right? Get out there and measure it and verify it, bless it.
No, I see.
People were freaking when they saw this change. I had phone calls. I had 3 phone calls. People like, did you look at the forms? Are you kidding me? Why are they doing this? We gotta raise hell. Get the Realtors Association on this, Eric. Like, why would they do this? Oh, don't worry. It's in 21. Oh, okay.
Did they move it to 21 or it's
Yeah.
just always been?
No, it has not always been there. It should have been.
Yeah, that makes sense, actually. That's
Yeah.
The good thing is now it's not optional.
Now it's not an optional.
I think you would have to say, yeah.
Right.
It would be viable.
Right. Why was that ever an option?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Now you've used this just for like solar claimant property and stuff like that.
Exactly. So now your first thing, number one is gonna be the title, right? Title insurance, if you need to switch it from the Ulta, why would you ever do that? I mean, to the extended or standard, which if you do an extended, you gotta get a freaking survey done. And then the standard is less coverage anyway, so you'd never mark that.
Why don't they either have all three
Right.
or just the homeowners?
Because it's defaulted in boilerplate
To the
language, the seller will provide the Ulta policy. It's always that.
Well, seller might, if it was a structure, whatever, they want to be the standard policy.
Maybe, maybe. There's reasons why that there's the other two options. There are reasons to
People
use.
want the extended coverage or the standard before.
Yeah.
No, yeah, you would not.
No, I've had people check, wanted extended coverage, they checked that.
For a cert, then you gotta have a survey done.
Yeah, I know, but the title company does the survey.
No.
Yeah, they do like a limited survey.
Well, they'll do their limited, they do a limited check, but a survey has to be performed in that one.
Yeah, but short sales,
That's what I'm
because
saying.
short sales do the standard.
They'll actually
Yep.
map the line and then.
Bank owned.
Bank owned.
Bank owned will do standard.
Do they charge for?
On there, no, it says the cost of any survey
But they
required.
did do that, it wasn't a
Oh,
full survey.
by the insurer.
Yeah, standard.
Buyer will be the insurer, so the buyer will have to pay for that.
Yeah, they're doing less.
All right, number three, seller cleaning, personal property, utilities, new construction, right? Leased, all of these are the same, they're just changing the numbers going down. Where they've changed now is the home warranty. So now they're having in here, which, because they've been tired of these things showing up very last minute. So it says, unless completed below, the parties waive ordering of a home warranty policy in connection with this agreement. So if you don't get it written in, you're gonna have a harder time getting one done at closing. It's not gonna be, they don't want it a part of the deal. If it's not in here, you gotta have it up front. So this is a change. Home warranty coverage, period, it's 1 year if not filled in. There's been some people like, I thought it was a 2-year. So it's a little bit of an update. Good thing to know.
Yep.
Get with your preferred warranty vendor. Which I'll give a quick short plug to Vendor Palooza next month. We're having a big Vendor Palooza. Invite your vendor. We're gonna have vendor, lists show up. They're gonna have tables set up. We're gonna do giveaways, a happy hour, and just like a total get together. But great way for you guys to meet some new vendors. So anybody you want to have come to this is like mortgage people. Quasi?
Well, I just had a quick question on the home warranty. So like, I just had a client bought a newer-ish house. We couldn't even see the HVAC because it was up in the ceiling.
Yeah.
So they were like, well, you don't need to replace it right now, but it might be a good idea to get a home warranty. So you're saying soon they won't even be able to do the home warranty even during their inspection? After they.
Well, see, I know, that's like,
Coverage?
great question. I'll have to get back to you on that one, because like I said, I don't have the manual for this yet, and literally all we're getting is, here's the changes, everybody. What's the rules to changes now, rule to the form, like that hasn't been released yet, but I mean, it says unless completed below, parties waive ordering of home warranty policy in connection with this agreement. You're waiving the right to get it, I guess.
It's
I
kind
know
of
a lot of agents.
Do
and
that.
even include us, no, you give it away as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
But it's paid.
Well, you better have it up front in the deal then.
Then they.
But Quasi's right. I think what ends up happening, you have the inspection, you're like, hey, it's probably fine, but let's get a warranty instead. Like, or there's even money left over, like this one happens too. Oh, you got credit costs left over from the lender. The lender's like, I can't use $1,000. They're like, well, great, we'll use the money for a warranty. I don't know if that means now you can't get it because you're saying you're waiving that.
Extra critical commission.
I mean,
I'm just kidding, I'm joking.
by thinking there's a problem with an HVAC or like, does that like classify it as a pre-existing issue that the home warranty won't cover?
They've got rules. There's a bunch of rules for that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think too, there's several agents who do pre-inspections on their listings. I would recommend getting a home if you're going to accept that inspection,
Yeah.
to throw in the home warranty, just in case something pops up. So that would be a good time to.
Can you put on warranty and then on the other bit? Right. Reserve the right to, no, reserve the right to get a home warranty.
It's a negotiation, why not?
Maybe another
Yeah,
buyer reserves the
That's
right
to get
for a home warranty to be added
the later date.
after inspection contingencies.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a negotiation.
might be okay. I don't know fully yet, till we get more answers
You know
on what they mean.
Gray, like, real world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We're new negotiating.
yeah,
It seems odd to me that they would want to totally preclude.
I know.
I don't think that would survive a court challenge.
Okay, good news. Looks like my hunch is, since number 1 is being moved to the Form 21. This will give us a little bit more space. I'm guessing now that form, the mini Form 34 got a little bigger. So might be a little nicer, to get, in case you need more language in there to use office clauses, to be able to do that. So you get a little more space. All right, let's move on. Next is the 41C, for the addendum for buyer credit. This is typically used when maybe on your buyer brokerage services agreement, you have 5 cookies. Since I'm in a classroom setting, I can't use compensation examples. You got 5 cookies agreement with your buyer. Oh, and this listing's got 6 cookies. You're like, oh wow, well there's 1 cookie left over. So you can use this addendum for buyer credit, marking the first box, the difference between 17A, 6 cookies and 5 cookies, will be credited towards buyer, towards closing costs and or prepaids. So this is where they're updating it. They're actually defining and saying the full phrase here. Seller's credit to buyer related to seller's offer buyer brokerage firm's compensation shall be, and then select 1. Now you got the difference between the amount of seller's offer of buyer brokerage firm's compensation and the amount to be paid by seller as set forth on first page of the agreement. They just crossed off shall be credited buyer's obligations at closing. Now it's marking the box here, which if that's the difference, right? You're taking the difference from A to B. That's it. Done. Marking the first box. Next one is, or it's a percentage of the sales price, or it's a dollar amount or an other. Seller's credit to buyer shall be credited to buyer's obligations at closing. So it can't be used, obviously outside the lender's scope. If buyers obtain a loan or loans to purchase the property, seller's credit to buyer set forth above is subject to buyer's lender's approval. Any amount not approved by buyer's lender shall be either check the box to be applied as a reduction in purchase price or credited to seller, back to seller. Thank goodness we had a deal last year. We had this exact situation. There was it's a very high price deal. There was like $22,000 left over, right? In this deal, the lender couldn't use all the credits. Luckily, they had used this form, and there was a credit and difference in compensation also, because the buyer broker thought, oh yeah, there's no way I'm going to get more than these cookies. Like, there's no way for this price point, so I'm fine with this. And what do you know? The house the buyer found had a lot of cookies to it, so there was a credit. A lot of money left over, and luckily our broker marked that box, because then when it got to closing, they were like, the lender was like, well, we need an addendum for this credit to be reduced in price. And what do you think the seller was saying? No, heck no, I'm not reducing the price. And so I had to get involved and get to the other DB and no, it's already agreed upon. We don't need an addendum. I basically took it to the highest level in the lender side, because our lender, I'm like, look, you better help us, because we're not going to get the addendum. I'm telling you right now, they already agreed to it. Here it is. And so they go, okay, we're good enough. And so escrow was like, yeah, I'm like, we're good enough. They changed it. And then the seller was mad. So I was like, we don't want to reduce. We're like, you already agreed to it. No, I didn't.
Ego?
I don't know, but that's the whole thing. We're like, you already agreed to this. No, I didn't. Even the listing broker's like, no, my seller did not agree to reduce the price anywhere. Like, okay, let's get your DB involved and show them the line. And then they're like, oh, okay. So then they closed and they reduced the price. But you might find yourself in that situation when you're doing this, but don't forget to mark the box. Because if you don't mark it, it's gonna default going back to the credit to the seller. And they'll get that money. So just be careful if credits are going back and forth. Question? Did I see you? And no?
Yeah, I mean, what, I guess the question is it just ego?
It must, well,
Trying to figure out like why.
no, I think it just came down, they didn't know the forms. They didn't know the forms. I think it just really came down to that. They already
They
agreed.
gave that much money.
Oh, I know. They were like, what?
That's the same.
But that's the same. They had already, we were like, why is this a thing? The net is the same.
They own the house.
You already agreed to it.
That comps.
Yeah. I don't know. The broker wasn't happy either, because he's like, there goes my percentage, I'm like, oh, my list price, sales price, like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, give me a break. You wanna close or not?
Right?
Give me a break.
It's already been to the client.
Yeah. Question? Zoom people? No? Alright. Next is seller's credit to buyer shall be credited buyer's obligations at closing. Oh, we already did that.
Yeah.
Next one is, there may be other credits in the agreement. Do you have a question, Shelley?
No.
Okay. There may be other credits in the agreement, and this is where they're defining further because there were some issues with this. There may be other credits in the agreement, such as credits related to financing or an inspection. Such credits are in addition to seller credit to buyer set forth above. So there were people filling in on 22A, page 2 for seller credit towards closing costs. And they were doing this credit too, they were doing both. Some brokers didn't catch it, and then all of a sudden at closing, they're like, yay, we get all this money. And then the list broker didn't understand, and they're like, what are you talking about? Like, no, we had 3% here and 3% here, or whatever, right? For credits. And that's 6%. 3 and 3 is 6. So they got 6% in credit of closing costs for different things. They're like, no, we only agreed to 3. Like, no, didn't you see I thought you were just defining what the 3 was. No. So now they're adding a little more verbiage to the form to say, don't forget, there could be credits other places in the agreement.
Sure.
So just watch out. And then the last item, unless seller otherwise agreed, the amount of the seller credit to buyer may not exceed the difference between the amount of seller's offer of buyer, brokerage firm's compensation, and the amount to be paid by seller as set forth on the first page of the agreement. So they're defining it can't be higher. You can't change that.
What form is this?
This is that 41C. Yeah. All right. Jump over to 22B, contingent offers. Woohoo! All right, they're adding in this verbiage, mark in a box. If selected, the list price of buyer's property shall not exceed a dollar amount. I like that too.
Otherwise, they could just, go 200,000 over.
Yeah, we're just gonna test our pricing.
Yeah.
If at any time the list price of buyer's property exceeds the foregoing amount, this contingency and all other contingencies in this agreement, you're gonna like this too, including financing, inspection, or any other contingency shall be deemed waived. And the closing shall be 30 days from buyer's waiver. How's that for some teeth in the contract for a seller, finally?
Yep.
So now you guys can predetermine on what that price is gonna be.
That's cool, actually.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Now you can predetermine if you wanna take that contingent deal, say, let's look at this buyer's house they're trying to sell. Do a CMA on it,
Yeah.
you're looking at it, you're like, well, you better not be listing over 500, and they come back to you and go, well, what price were you thinking you were gonna list at? And they go, oh, 585, and you're like, seller, no way, then we're gonna counter and we're gonna put a price on here. You're not gonna list for over 500. I see some faces are like, what?
Yeah.
This is unique.
Plus the difference between their house selling could be the difference between their house selling and not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. Be on the hook for months. We just saw a deal come over, someone's contingent deal. They wanted 85 days for the contingent period. And they wanted 15 days for a bump.
Wow.
I was laughing. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, nice try.
So now, now they got some teeth. Now you guys can decide, like, okay, let's figure this out. Hey, Shelley, can you mute if you don't have a question? Thank you.
No.
Thank you. Okay. So pretty good that now you guys can decide if that box is checked. So not only is it, you can determine on when that property is gonna go on the market, which was a good change. It used to be defaulted to the 5, but now you got a timeline to actually choose. Cause there's a lot of things to get done when you're gonna list a property, right? I mean, there's a lot of stuff to get updated and, all this stuff for the marketing, all that stuff takes a lot of time. 5 days is pretty quick. So, I mean, that was a nice change. This is another nice change. So now if you're gonna go contingent, you can decide. What are you gonna do, buyer brokers? That's something you better really now counsel the buyer seller on, like, hey, we better have let's do a good CMA. I'm gonna show you all that. Here's the data. We better have a good price, because if they don't kind of agree with that, they might counter us on this now. There was no control whatsoever in that category, was there?
Well,
You
they're
had
kind
none.
of, they're kind of lost.
How?
Because
In the
if you-
contract there was?
Not in the contract.
Well, in
no.
the contract,
No.
that's what I'm talking about.
No, but if you were representing the seller, then you would do your CMA on the buyer's property. You'd have that discussion with them. But
then-
it's better to have it.
But you could have a verbal agreement, they could say, we're gonna put it on for 600, and then
Oh,
they
yeah.
just list it for 650.
Right.
So that's what they could have done before.
Yeah.
And that has happened. We've heard that. I mean, I've had people complain, like, can they do that? They told us, like, Eric, they're gonna list for this, and they totally changed. They're never gonna sell at that.
Totally. It's a smart change.
Yep, all right, and then other thing is, it says contingency satisfied, buyer may not change the closing date for the sale of buyer's property without seller's, so instead of saying consent, you just can't make a change. Either earlier or even extending past, so it's just a change, not just extending. All right, and I think that was it on that one. Next is the 22 VV homeowners insurance addendum. This has been updated to adding some info in here. And it's going into more definitions about the earnest money shall be refunded to buyer if buyer provides no later than 5 days, if not filled in, following buyer's notice of termination based on the homeowner insurance contingency, the letter from the insurance broker or insurance company evidencing A, the date buyer's application for the applicable coverage was made, and B, either unavailability of coverage for one or more of the applicable coverages, or the quoted premium or deductible amounts exceeding the specified threshold for one or more of the coverages. We had that session with Doug Olson, right?
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
That's
I mean,
good.
he went over like, you guys definitely should not leave some of these to the default percentages, because it's terrible for what, he went into that. That was a great session. That's on our YouTube channel if you didn't get to see that one. Special forms class for that one we had last month. But if they're gonna terminate, now you gotta show proof, kind of like in 22A. Same way, now you gotta give a copy of those items. Because there are people now terminating, like, well, it doesn't say they had to give proof of anything. That was a complaint. All right, Form 21, here's the only change. Very easy. Oh yeah, they numbered this one to a 2, this one to a 1. And good old 22D number 1. Oh, this is the first one. That's right. Oh yeah, Tony. When this first changed, Tony goes, hey, it doesn't say it's based on the sales price. I'm like, yeah, you're right. They probably should have put that in the definition for compensation. But now they're adding 17B, amounts described as a percentage in specific term 17A or 17B shall be a percentage of the purchase price unless otherwise specified by the parties. So now they've added the language. So you can thank Tony for that one, because we pushed that through to the attorneys. And like, hey, well, you guys aren't saying this is based on any purchase price. Like, we're assuming that's what you meant. And they're like, well, yeah, that's what it means. And we're like, well, it doesn't say that. What if our seller says, well, I'm giving closing cost credits? I said, I'm paying on the net. Why am I paying them twice? So now it's defined. So thank you, Tony.
I like the gray.
Like caramel.
Yep. So like I said, it was in X, in 21, 28, 25, all of your boilerplate language. Now brokers make no representation concerning the lot size, boundaries, accuracy. So they took number 1, 22D, and it's just an X. So it's in every single deal. You don't have to check box anymore, which was smart.
Oh, what I was talking about earlier, though, was the one above that. The information verification period.
No, that's nothing for that,
Okay,
because that's got its own box for the waiver
okay,
for satisfied,
okay.
which you shouldn't do that anyway. If you're having a home inspection, please allow the information verification period. It should not be waived. I just like, I seen buyer brokers write this up. They just satisfied, waived, and they're having an inspection.
Just put one
Just-
day.
No, keep it
No,
the
just
same.
keep it the
Just make it the same. 5 days on the inspection. Just have 5 on that. It's more protection for our sellers. It's just
But what if it's competitive?
counterintuitive. If it's competitive and you have to waive things,
I've
I
had
get it.
brokers
You're
come
waiving
back
it.
and Ask you to waive it.
Yeah.
So.
But it's a misconception in our industry. It's actually protection for sellers.
That's why the 1 day though. I've heard Annie say that, like at least put something
Something.
is provided.
Something's better than nothing. All right, last but not least, they are adding in the brand new Z. Man, they're running out of letters now, right? So it's funny that they're gonna get this to fit, but Z is the new FinCEN, right? The FinCENs, please, probably should come to tomorrow's session for legal lunch or jump on the Zoom. They're gonna have first session on this, so FinCEN goes into effect on March 1st. So this is gonna be a thing now. This is it. So Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, which is FinCEN, real estate reporting. So section 1010.821 of chapter 31 of the Code of Federal Regulations Code requires that certain residential real estate transaction purchased with all cash or without institutional lender financing, where at least one buyer is a legal entity, limited liability company, corporation, partnership, trust, trustee, or other non-natural person must be reported to the United States Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, FinCEN report. If this transaction is subject to the FinCEN report, then seller and buyer shall no later than closing, provide to the closing agent the information and documentation necessary to enable the closing agent to complete the FinCEN report. Such information and documentation includes the full legal name, date of birth, residential street address, and the IRS taxpayer identification number of the beneficial owners of the buyer. As further defined and described in the code, buyer shall also pay all costs and fees to prepare and file the FinCEN report. So buyer paying all cash, it's gonna happen. They're gonna have to, I don't know how much it is yet. You know, come tomorrow to learn. Title's gonna be here talking about this. They all have to deal with this. Every title, you know, in Washington.
That should be prompted by the title company though, right? They'll ask you.
Well, they need to complete their report, but we need to, you know, we need to find out if it's all cash, it's it. You're doing it.
So
If it's not an individual.
Not an individual. No,
No,
so if it's not,
yeah, so you have to, it's for entities. And if you're buying it in terms of an entity like a trust or everybody else,
Yeah.
that's when it applies, if you're paying cash.
Yeah.
That is an individual.
not an individual.
Non-natural person.
Right.
Are there non-natural pursuit?
So it's people buying us LLC.
Yeah, you're buying an LLC, you're buying a trust,
Yeah.
there's other things you're paying cash.
That's probably because of the institutional purchasing, is that what they're trying to?
Yes,
No, they're
No.
trying,
Money laundering.
Yeah,
no.
correct.
It's,
no,
they're
trying to
money
cut down
laundering,
money laundering.
they're stopping money laundering is what they're trying to do.
Equity title is the whole thing on that, so.
Yeah.
So they'll, you know.
So please come tomorrow, I mean, this is a brand new thing, this is a brand new thing that they talked about last year, that they were gonna be pushing. And yeah, it passed, it's happened, it's done, it's law, so it's going into effect March 1st.
That and foreign national, they're trying to.
Yeah.
yeah,
Without getting political, but foreign nationals, because what they were doing is getting like TIN number,
Yeah.
getting an LLC and just buying real estate that way.
Yeah.
So it was a way to, it's part of the immigration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without getting political, but that's
And
also.
and money
And money laundering,
Yeah.
so.
So, new things,
So if you're just dealing with single or couple people, regular people buying houses, that doesn't apply. So that's really.
I mean,
Right.
that's just where at least,
Buying the
at least
package,
one of them is, and if
Still
you're
have
not
to
an
be-
actual person, that's it, you don't have to do it.
Still have to-
If
and I'm not getting-
one of them is not a natural person, then you do that.
But do you need to go through for them to say, yes, you're good to go?
so,
No, for individuals, they still are gonna report it. but
Yeah.
It goes under a different section, so you're, any.
well, FERC doesn't require it on every deal, and that's separate,
Separate.
totally separate.
Yeah.
It's just, they still, anything over 10 Gs, they report it regardless, whether it's in your bank, whether it's.
But you
anywhere,
don't
they're
buy
gonna
it as
report
an
it.
individual and then just move it into an LLC afterwards.
Correct, but
I had a
that's,
client do that.
Yep.
Like,
that's a whole.
Not actually buy it. as an
Yeah.
LLC.
They're still reporting to the government regardless.
Yep. All right, let's continue, guys. Like I said, please show up tomorrow, and we're gonna have another one the following week, a more hands-on, another session. So just trying to get everybody, you know, up to speed on a new law, new change. So, okay, Form A1A, so our listing, exclusive sale listing agreements, here are the updates. Now they're adding in the information about not just photographs, but also your images, videos, virtual tours, drawings, renderings, sketches, floor plans, and other representations of the property, collectively the photographs. So to be published by MLS. So now they're stating like, you know, that all the items, they're listing all of that. And the next little thing was here, information and photographs collectively, the listing data can be shared through IDX. I mean, that's all they're really talking about. Not a big deal there. Same thing, they've changed the word instead of referred. Now it's the listing is provided. Multiple listing service to which the listing is provided. So rather than that, and same thing for photos, they're just calling it photographs. Seller's warranties, and now all of it falls under this, right? Any supplemental document describing features or conditions of the property attached and is incorporated into the agreement. So they changed that language, and that was it for that one. And the rest of the stuff is the 68 is just the lease. Which, you know, we rarely use these, and it follows kind of the same lines as far as thought it was for the photos. Base rent, they're calling it. And then lessor may designate other addressees where rent is to be received, and such designation shall not be considered a material change to the agreement. As additional rent, late fees is defined. And now they changed the numbers down. And, oh yeah, service animals, emotional support animals, information is now a checkbox. So tenant represents that they, you know, that as of this date, this agreement, tenant does not require an emotional support animal, service animal, or a therapy animal, and has not requested lessor to make any reasonable accommodation involving animals. So there's a checkbox now that they can just mark. Then tenant is not a beneficiary of any policy maintained on the premises by lessor for renter's policy. And then water heater, new pursuant to RCW 1927A60, the state of Washington requires that upon occupancy, the temperature control in an accessible domestic hot water heater within a rental dwelling be set not higher than 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Tenant acknowledges that if accessible, tenant has inspected the hot water heater, and to the best of tenant's knowledge, does not believe it to be set higher than 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Trying to stop some of those accidents happening, lawsuits for burns,
Yeah,
yep, to kids,
yeah.
stuff like that, so they've kind of added that into our boilerplate language. And then all the numbers again
No
are
pun
still
intended.
moved. And that's it, you guys.
Woo-hoo.
Yay, all right. Thank you guys for making it. You guys always do, after these meetings, you always feel a little shell shocked, like, oh, thank you, is there booze? Thank you guys for making it, we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, sir.
Bye.